Africans with a criminal record for COVID-19 offences want them expunged. More than 400,000 people were charged for violating lockdown regulations, and some of them were found guilty and got criminal records. We're now joined by Chrispin Phiri from the Justice Department. He's the spokesperson, and he joins us now to tell us more about the bill as well. Thank you very much, Chrispin, for your time. Let's start with that figure. Are we correct? Is it 400,000 people?
I'm not sure what the estimate is, but it is a significant amount of people.
Okay. Are these people with criminal records or who have been charged?
These are people with criminal records that have accumulated as a result of COVID-19 violations. And so the thinking here is essentially that most of these people would have accumulated these mostly by admission of guilt as well. So they would have approached the courts to say, indeed, one is guilty of a particular crime and maybe where necessary would have paid the particular fine. So what we have done is tabled a judicial amendment bill, which is essentially a bill that does technical amendments to existing legislation. But on the face of it, these are not substantive amendments, so it doesn't completely change the face of the law, but it refines the law and makes it a lot more effective. And we table this, I think, every 6 months to Parliament where necessary. Sometimes it's occasioned by a constitutional court amendment, or judgment rather, and so we would then table such a bill. And in this instance, we are amending 3 sections of the Criminal Procedure Act, Section 57B, C, and D. And all of these deal with criminal records. Some of these look at offences which we call high-volume offences, like, for instance, traffic fines. What's the best way to ensure that we are able to have people not getting a criminal record for too long, after having admitted that they've paid a traffic fine? Because the traffic fine is essentially that you admit guilt and then you move forward with your life. So maybe having a criminal record is not the best way to deter you from actually ever committing that crime. Paying the fine should already deter you. The same with COVID-19 violations. A lot of the people would have paid some of those fines, and so we deem it unnecessary to clog up the criminal record center with those type of records.
So is that then what you mean by technical offences?
Yes, no, technical amendments.
Oh, technical amendments,
yes,
I beg your pardon.
Technical amendments. So the Judicial Amendment Bill contains a raft of amendments, not just specifically on the criminal record center. It also contains amendments on how we appoint the master, for instance, this particular one. A number of other amendments that address really technical issues in our legislation. And this is one of the technical issues that we think we have identified.
Is this now also taking a look at something that may spring up in the future, touch wood, maybe not another pandemic, but then what to do and the law around that in terms of what to do? You speak of traffic fines. We can remember a father who went to go buy milk for his child and he was then arrested. So cases like that, what does it mean for the future?
Look, it's not incident specific, these amendments on the criminal record. It's really a trend of what we are seeing around what people accumulate criminal records for. And what we really want people to be accumulating criminal records for is really serious offenses. So that society can know that, make a judgment call. If I want to employ Tutu tomorrow, I must know that she stole 50,000 rand somewhere. I must make that judgment call. It doesn't at all mean she's unemployable. And we do see this. We do see employers making a decision not to employ people because they have a criminal record. It doesn't mean you're not employable, but it enables society to make that judgment call. You would want to know whether the child, your teacher's child, for instance, is someone who is an upstanding member of society. Those are the type of things that we should be using criminal records for. But we don't think violating COVID-19 regulation is in that category of what a criminal record should be used for.
Sure. And the work of the bill, when are you expecting for that to be wrapped up?
We are happy to say we've tabled this in Parliament by March already. So we are in the hands of Parliament by now. And I'm sure Parliament, through its own processes, will also invite members of the public to comment further on some of these amendments, particularly these. And we know that AfriForum have raised this issue with us to understand where the process is. And it's common cause now that it's before Parliament, and we hope that they will be able to even raise some of their issues in that forum.
You spoke of some of the offences that you don't want people to have criminal records for arbitrary offences. What are we seeing where that trend is concerned?
For instance, a classic example is when the Constitutional Court decriminalized the use of marijuana. There are a lot of people that accumulated criminal records for that. So that's something that you want to address. Like I say, also traffic fines is one of those. And generally what we would consider really, really less harmful crimes. So there's a criteria and it contains about 4 areas that we look at. But mainly what the criteria is what we call high-volume crimes, which a criminal record would not necessarily create a deterrent for. So that's the criteria in the Act.
Got you.
Or bill.
I just wanted to find out, totally unrelated, and I do beg your pardon for hijacking you here, but the DA yesterday making an announcement that they're going to be going to the United Nations to lay a complaint against the South African government for not doing anything, according to them, on Julius Malema singing about the Kill the Boer song. Is this something that your department would be roped in to be involved in any shape or form?
Not to the best of my knowledge. It's safe to say that this issue has been canvassed before the courts. There's a court judgment around it, and the courts have emphatically said that this is not hate speech. We do have a hate speech bill, but if one thinks about it a bit more carefully, it's quite an insulting argument to make, to think that by virtue of someone singing a song, black people are just going to go and massacre another race. I think our opposition parties really need to think better about race relations and how they go about the social cohesion project. My personal opinion is this is not the way to go about it. And historically as well, this issue has been ventilated before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where former President Thabo Mbeki emphatically laid out the culture around some of the things that we sing as African people in particular. And so, I think to suggest that singing a song is directly linked to killing people is a very dangerous argument to make for our race relations as a country. And moreover, I think from what I've read from the UN Charter, I think it actually limits the type of complaints that you have. They should not be politically related. But anyway, that's an argument for the DA's lawyers to make.
Sure. Because also I think it is today that Elon Musk has now joined the conversation, apparently, based especially on the assertion from the DA that the minority is being targeted, speaking about an increase in farm murders. We are still petitioning Africa Check on that so that they can give the numbers. But where that is concerned, also on an international platform where you've got now South Africa being beamed in this particular light, what does it mean? It's
concerning that you would have, that's also the consequence of sometimes a very sensational approach to what is a very important issue. South Africa does have a crime problem. No one has ever, not conceded that. But to insinuate that it's deliberately race-driven, I think is a problem. If we look at the murder capital in South Africa currently, it's not Orania or a typically white area. It's Nyanga. It's black township areas where many black bodies are being killed, ad nauseum, I would even say. And we know that SAPS are doing a lot of work through their statistics. We're now able to literally track which are the most problematic police stations in the country. So the facts are there. I think the conversation must be had around facts. But the danger of sensationalizing it and race profiling it and race baiting it is exactly what we get now. We then get profiled in the world as a country that is targeting a particular race. But it seems to be a policy of the DA to implement race baiting and narratives. We've seen it as well with the Employment Equity Act or Equity Bill. And it seems like it's their strategy. And it's unfortunate, but I think let's leave that to the political space. I'm an official today.
Thank you for your indulgence on that. I appreciate it. And that's Chrispin Phiri, Justice and Correctional Services spokesperson. Thank you.